Hello, this is Marilyn from Marilyn's on 5th Avenue South, and I'm here to talk to you about MX jewelry, which if people have already been in my store know what that is, but those that you have not, I'm going to go through and talk to you about it. Now, customers have been extremely patient with me because the minute they take an interest in the MX jewelry, which you can also see this online, this is plexiglass, but it's also part of a resin. Look how pretty it is. Okay, the first thing I do is I whip out my little thing and I start telling them how it's made. Okay, and it's made in a certain way because it has a color. I'm going to come close because you really have to see this. They put a color down here and clear on top. And then each piece is cut out, ground into shape because plexiglass is worked like glass, so it can be ground and polished. Then after they get done doing that, they put a glaze and polish on it. One of the big characteristics of it is it doesn't turn yellow. And because of that, if you remember a prism, which has all the colors of the rainbow in it, it makes whatever color it puts it much more lustrous than that. And then you listened to me and we went through that and you looked at my jewelry. But what I wanted to do in this video today, besides talk about my jewelry, okay, is I want to just back up because we throw in the store all the time, and I apologize. Resin! Oh, it's resin, and plexiglass is different than resin and all of this stuff. So even I had to go to the website and look up and see what exactly does resin mean. Well, actually, a plexiglass is also a resin, and resin is just sort of an overall thing for what all the different types of plastics there are. The two that we're most familiar with is epoxy. And that's the kind that we make these kinds of jewelry out of. This is what I would call that's made from epoxy. In fact, I went online and I show you can do this at home. Normally the stuff you do at home is you put a few little branches in and then they put the color coating on it. And as most of us know, the epoxy the clear turns yellow and also scratches, and you can't polish it like you can plexiglass. So here are these. So once they get damaged, it's pretty much the way it is. Also, this is done in pellets. This is poured. Plexi is also poured, not in a stage, but this can be poured into a mold. It's either done in a flat sheets and cut, which I think we did some of that stuff when we were in school, or you can actually have the mold. So that means whenever you do something like this here's the resin, in the resin jewelry, this is poured into molds. Now, when you talk to a designer, okay, in fact, this is one, and what they did is they poured over a light glaze over the resin. This is not polished into it. What they do is, that's so interesting, I think, with this, is poured. Now, most designers, this is extremely toxic. Okay, it's not something you want to be doing in your basement. And if you've ever worked with, epoxy glue, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So mostly what a designer does is make the design. Then they go to a company that actually makes the mold. And then they pour it. This would be a mix of colors because you can mix it with different colored pellets to do this. And then they would make the mold and they would produce it in the factory and send it back to the designer. Most of the resin, this epoxy resin, is done like this. And that's different than the way they do the plexiglass. Plexiglass is poured either in sheets or, again, it can be done in pellets. But once it's done, it's not so much a form. You cut it out like glass and you polish it. So you can see the difference. I'm sure you can use forms. And that's why in furniture they always use plexiglass because it'll stay clear. So that's really the difference. There are not a lot of people. There are more designers doing the epoxy resin than there are doing the plexiglass. And part of it is because it's a unique process. And a lot of detail is involved. Now, MX has been doing this for a lot of years. You can see it. We have it here. I want to do a good example of it. Here he had this kind of a poured sheet. And as you can see, he put it together. Can you see the dividing line here? This is the color. And then they put clear on top of it. Okay, and that makes a solid piece like this. Okay. And then they do the designs and they cut this out. He used to do this by hand, but now he has a laser cutter that does it, a machine that does it. But now what he's doing, which is extremely interesting, is he's getting the actual print printed in one of those little blocks from a company that he started working together a few years ago. And we're starting to see all of these new types of designs and prints. I guess prints is what you'd call them. And see how you have the clear here? Now, there's something really nice about this. I had a customer come in. See how nice this is polished up? The clear and the black. I love how he does it. With the hinging is really nice. Everything's quality with them. She came in. This was so dingy. It was so dingy. A customer came in. I think it was 6 years old. And she said to me, I just don't know what to do. I wear it all the time, and it's gotten this really bad. And it had a few scratches here. So actually, in all the years I've carried the collection, it was the first time I actually had someone who would scratch it. But don't worry about it. So I said, no problem. And I sent it back to him. It took a couple of weeks. And when it came back, it looked like new. So that's the nice thing about plexi, that it can work. Here's an example of the print that he's stopped being able to do these prints rather than just plain colors. Really pretty. Really, really pretty. So, and they get more complicated. If you can imagine grinding this and polishing it. He actually has a whole room of grinders, and there's a whole room of polishing. And Muriel, his wife, she takes care of, look how pretty. This, you see, the colors look so beautiful. I was going to really show you because the clear, it works like a prism. Now I wanted to show you the difference. Here, I have this black. This is a resin black. Okay, now this probably has a luster over it. And as you can see, you can see the difference. This is the black. And especially if he puts the clear with it. Here he's got the color here, and he's got the clear. Look how much better. And when you're putting this up against your face, and I think you'll see it too, especially with a black earring, because usually it's very dead when it's there, if it's only black. So a lot of times I tell customers that if you're going to get a black earring, this is a really good one to do because it's really going to bring light to your face, which is what every earring should do. So that's how this is done. I can show you some more of the prints. They're really pretty. He's doing so much new stuff. Isn't that pretty? And this is all a printed and the clear put on top. I saw these. He had them in his shop. So what he'll do is he'll go ahead and he'll design this. He'll tell them what he wants. They make the sheet for him. And then he cuts it and designs it the way he feels it will look the best. And that's a lot. And if you come over here, you can begin to see how vibrant the colors are. Now here he's doing a two-dimensional. He's putting depth in it, so that's changing it. And this stuff is labor intensive. I only know of very few people doing it. And you know, it's interesting. Here's another one. Look how he did it. He's got the clear here. I mean, he sought not to put it there. This is one I'm kind of proud of. And I don't know if I have the actual. Here, I'll do this. Here. This started out as a necklace. And then I asked him to do it for earrings because I thought this would really make a nice earring. And I've done it in colors, and it's a really good clip. It's really pretty. And that's kind of the story. I'll show you a couple more, and then I'll let you go eat breakfast. But that's the story behind this. And when people ask me, you can tell this requires a lot of work by the designer. This is not something that's done in a factory. He's doing it right there. And that's what makes it so special. And it's something you should have in your wardrobe because you always have the gold collection and the silver collection. This is the fashion collection, okay, that goes with a lot of stuff. If you have any questions, you know you can always get a hold of me. It's Marilyn from Marilyn's in Naples, Florida, and we have gorgeous, beautiful plexiglass jewelry.